Disclaimer. Before we get into the conversation, I'd like to warn you that this video will get into self-harm, which can be very triggering. If you're not at a stable mental state right now, please be aware that this is a painful moment that you are capable of surviving, and please don't go to self-harm. I will not be depicting any sharp objects or blood, and in this video, I will be referring to self-harm without the intent of suicide. This is my way of informationally discussing this broad topic as someone who studies psych and also as someone who deals with self-harm herself. So, why do people self-harm? Although there's no way I could clearly convey all the possible motivations, I'll try to explain this through a biopsychosocial perspective, mainly focusing on the objective biocomponent, and also my own perspective. Self-harm is a coping skill developed to deal with the larger issue at hand: depression, anxiety, borderline personality disorder, and the list of mental illnesses and disorders goes on. Self-harm is a maladaptive coping mechanism. Mal meaning unpleasant or bad, and adaptive, in this context, meaning created to help survive. Coping mechanisms, or behaviors, are meant for us to reduce stress. Therefore, maladaptive coping mechanisms are behaviors that, while at the moment may help decrease stress, in the long run increases it. It's self-sabotage in that one may drink or smoke, throw themselves into work, denying oneself of proper self-care and instead destroying one's mental and physical health. When one is stressed, typically their sympathetic nervous system activates and their body goes into fight or flight mode. It's an extremely energy-consuming state, in which symptoms may include increased heart rate, sweating, muscle contraction, adrenaline, and more. Kind of sounds like a panic attack, huh? So, how does the body get down from that sort of extreme state of arousal? The threat, the source that is causing the stress, needs to go away. Or you need to find a way to deal with the source of the stress. By doing so, your parasympathetic nervous system, PSNS, can do its job by calming your body down. In this case, self-harm helps activate the PSNS. It can even release endorphins, which creates a feeling of satisfaction in your brain. And that's the problem. When one becomes reliant on self-harm to undo the causes of stress, there wouldn't be a need for other healthier coping mechanisms like talking to loved ones, partaking in hobbies like drawing or singing, or even deep breathing. It becomes a difficult addiction. Beyond a coping mechanism, people with self-harm may also have low self-esteem and self-image. They may see themselves as beings unworthy of love or compassion and deserve everything bad that they get. They may punish themselves in a twisted way of expressing self-hatred. Or perhaps they don't feel anything, and by partaking in self-harm, the activity grounds them. In one way or another, it's redirecting the uncomfortable, inaccessible psychological ache in a more direct, physical, yet also very painful way. By perpetuating this addiction, it may continue an unhealthy cycle of conducting self-harm, condemning themselves for partaking in said action, and creating more stress for themselves only to drive themselves further into the cycle. This can continue from just a single moment to years. Socially speaking, self-harm is still a relatively taboo topic that is unfortunately very common. It's often attributed to shame, and therefore rarely discussed in most cultures. Not a lot of people understand self-harm or the reason why it's so prevalent. Self-harm is often even hidden within families, but not on the internet, which can be a double-edged sword, especially when there are an abundance of influential forums and communities that advocate for self-harm. Of course, that's not to deny the fact that there are also many helpful resources and support systems online. But when the internet is so easily accessible, any implication of self-harm can be more influential than one may anticipate it to be. I hope that I can reach out to those who are under the delusion that maybe self-harm isn't so bad, because I was once that person. So please, if only for a moment, listen to me. I understand those thoughts. I I can truly empathize with them. In the past, I've also thought, oh, well, it's not that deep, and it's without suicidal intentions. I even thought that they looked cool, that they were physical manifestations of my internal suffering, and my only true validation to depression no one could see or experience. But self-harm is never that innocent or simple. It's an addiction that will only harm you, and you need to stop. And as of the release of the DSM-5, which can be controversial, but all of its criticisms and over-pathologizing aside, a disorder. Non-suicidal self-injury disorder. I'm still in recovery, and I expect to be in recovery for a long time. But that's okay, because I'm aware, and I'm making a conscious effort to save myself from the addiction self-harm became. It's a difficult habit to break, and there have been some really rough days, but that's only normal, and I'm proud of myself to see how far I've come. It may be hard to understand from an outsider's perspective. People who self-harm shouldn't simply be written off as masochists who derive pleasure from their own pain. Any sort of superficial pleasure we feel is only momentary, and the waves of disgust, self-loathing, or regret isn't worth it. There are many other reasons why one may self-harm, beyond covering in just a short video. But to anyone who's actually watching this, thank you. And if you're going through any form of self-harm, no matter the method, how well-known or rare it is, please. Even baby steps away from this cycle will throw it out of its loop and free you. Occupy yourself with activities that require your body to do other things. Some suggestions would be to read a book, go outside for a walk, hug your pet, or draw whatever makes you happy. I don't want to regurgitate the same advice you can find on the internet, but I want to emphasize that the path of recovery, while difficult and most certainly not 100% clean, will make all the difference. Thank you.